Welcome to the HD Recap channel. Today we will summarize the horror movie as follows. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video, and let's get started. In the film's opening scene, a young woman is seen desperately fleeing from an unknown threat. She drives frantically to a secluded beach. Once there, she makes a tearful phone call to her father, expressing regret for the harsh way she had treated him. The following morning reveals a grim discovery: her lifeless body, brutally murdered during the night, with her leg grotesquely twisted and a bone protruding. The film then shifts to Jay, who is out on a date with Hugh at the movies. As they wait in line, Hugh expresses his envy of young children, admiring their innocent and carefree lives. Inside the theater, Hugh notices a young woman at the entrance and points her out to Jay. To Jay's confusion, she cannot see the woman. Hugh's demeanor abruptly changes to fear, and he insists that they leave the theater immediately. On their next date, Jay and Hugh are intimate in his car when he unexpectedly chloroforms her. Jay awakens to find herself tied to a wheelchair, with Hugh nearby. He explains that during their sexual encounter, he transferred a curse to her. This curse involves a malevolent entity that can only be seen by the person who currently bears the curse, which is now Jay. Hugh reveals that the entity, which is now following Jay, can assume the appearance of anyone and relentlessly pursues her at a slow, methodical pace. If the entity catches her, it will kill her and then go after the previous bearer of the curse, which in this case is Hugh, compelling them to transfer the curse to another person. Hugh reveals to Jay that he got the curse from a previous one-night stand. He explains that the entity will continuously pursue him until he transfers the curse to someone else, which is why he initiated a relationship with Jay. As Hugh finishes explaining, he notices a naked woman approaching them, indicating the entity's presence. In a state of panic, Hugh and Jay flee the scene. Hugh manages to drop Jay off at her home for her safety and continues to evade the entity. The police conduct a search for Hugh, but he successfully evades capture. During school hours, Jay sees an old woman in a hospital gown heading toward her. Strangely, no one else around seems to notice the woman's presence. Concerned, Jay enlists the help of her friend Paul, who has a crush on her, and her sister Kelly. They agree to investigate the mysterious appearance of the woman. That night, Jay, Paul, Kelly, and their friend Yara decide to stay at Jay's house together. As they settle in, Paul hears a peculiar sound and discovers a broken window in the kitchen. He checks around the area, but finds nothing unusual. Later, Jay encounters a nearly naked woman with unsettling dark eyes moving toward her. She attempts to alert the others, but they cannot see the woman. Just then, a tall man with dark eyes steps into the room. In a frantic state, Jay runs out of the house, leaving the others behind. Jay flees to a nearby playground, where her friends eventually catch up to her. A neighbor named Greg offers to help them by giving them a ride. With Greg's assistance, Jay and her friends track down Hugh by uncovering his real address. When they confront Hugh, he stands by his original explanation, insisting that Jay must sleep with someone to transfer the curse to another person. Returning to Greg's house, Jay realizes that she needs to learn how to use a gun for their next steps. While they are sitting by the water, the entity appears in the guise of Yara and attacks Jay. Jay escapes, but the entity then takes on the form of a tall old man and then Paul. In a desperate attempt to protect herself, Jay manages to shoot the entity, but it doesn't seem to be defeated. Panicked, Jay gets into a car and tries to drive away, but she crashes into a cornfield. When Jay wakes up, she finds herself in the hospital being treated for her broken arm. Before she is discharged, Jay makes a decision to pass the curse on to someone else. In a desperate move, she chooses to sleep with Greg in her hospital bed, hoping that this will transfer the curse to him. Back at home, Jay observes from her window as Greg walks down the street towards his house. Once he reaches his house, he breaks a window and steps inside. Realizing that the entity has taken on Greg's appearance, Jay rushes over to Greg's house and peers inside. She sees the entity taking on the form of Greg's mother. Jay tries to warn Greg, but the entity jumps on Greg and kills him. With Greg dead, the curse reverts back to Jay. Filled with fear, Jay flees into the nearby woods. When Jay wakes up the next morning, she finds herself by a beach. She sees 3 young men on a boat and decides to undress and wade into the water, hoping to sleep with one of them to pass the curse on and buy herself some more time. Back at home, Paul expresses his feelings for Jay and suggests that they be together. However, Jay rejects his advances, worried that if she were to sleep with him, he would be put in danger. While Jay is grappling with her decision, she spots the entity on the roof, disguised as a naked man and watching her from above. Realizing the danger, Paul devises a plan to confront and kill the entity to protect Jay. The group decides to head to an abandoned swimming pool with the plan to lure the entity into the water and then electrocute it. Jay volunteers to be the bait and gets into the pool, hoping that this strategy will be effective. Once Jay is in the pool, she spots the entity approaching her, now taking on the appearance of her father. The entity, aware of their plan, starts throwing electrical devices into the pool, aiming to electrocute Jay. Unable to see the entity themselves, Paul, Kelly, and Yara fire their weapons blindly into the water, trying to hit the entity. In the chaos of the situation, Paul accidentally injures Yara, but he manages to shoot the entity in the head, seemingly killing it. After returning home, Paul and Jay share an intimate moment and have sex together. Later, Paul drives to a dilapidated area of Detroit where several prostitutes are seen on the streets. It becomes apparent that Paul plans to sleep with one of the prostitutes to quickly pass the curse on to someone else. Sometime later, Jay and Paul are seen walking down the street hand in hand, appearing to be a couple. However, a person can be seen following them in the distance. The screen fades to black, marking the end of the film. See you in next video. Take care.